All right, I want to call this December 15th meeting of the Simpson County Fiscal Court to order. I'm going to ask Magistrate Scott Poston if he'd lead us in a word of prayer, and then we'll follow that with the pledge to the flag.
Heavenly Father, we just thank you, Lord, for this day and the many blessings that you've given us in life. Father, we just pray for each and every one here today. Father, all the ones that are listening. Father, we just pray for the ones that are sick. Pray for the ones that are hurting. Father, and through this Christmas holiday, I just pray that we'll just remember what this holiday is actually about. The birth of your Son, Jesus. For it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first thing up is the sheriff. Sheriff, if you don't mind, when you come up, you can pull that podium out where you can kind of stand behind it and get the microphone out so we can all hear you good. You can even turn around and face that way if you want your face on the camera instead of the back of your head.
Well, I get older and my bald spot gets bigger.
Yeah.
I would probably prefer to have a little bit of that. Okay, gentlemen, I'm here to talk to you about the 2021 budget for the Sheriff's Office. I felt, quite frankly, that we've been able to pull off a few miracles given our past year at the Sheriff's Office in this budget. I think it's going to be good news when we go through it. There'll be a few things that will kind of freak you out at first, but I think if you open up your ears and actually listen to what's going on, you're going to realize, bottom line, I'm asking for less money this year than I was last year, and that's taking into account that your hazardous duty rates, all your retirement rates went up about $35,000. So asking for less, even taking that into account, is a good thing.
And I don't mean to interrupt you there, but just so all you guys know, we did receive the confirmation that going into the next fiscal year, that 12% increase on the retirement is absolutely going to happen. They didn't pause it again like they did this current year.
Yes, your retirement rates have gone up approximately $30,000 this year over last year. That's not us doing anything different. That's just the rate itself changing. Good news before we get into this also, revenue-wise for 2020, we will have about $128,000 coming into the coffers over the course of the year that was unanticipated just from all the different jobs that we do. So, you know, on our budget you have two parts. You have a revenue stream, our projected revenue for the year, and you have our projection expenses for the year. The projected revenues of last year, we're going to have about $128,000 more than what we had projected, so that's more money that has come into fiscal court. It means we didn't spend what you gave us, plus we're giving you $128,000. I don't need it, I'm not here to ask for it, I'm just saying that's good news in these times. As we get into the budget itself, the thing that will initially shock you, like I said, keep your ears open because it will be explained. Our budget this year is about $2,062,671. That's up from $1.8 billion last year. I use approximate numbers when I talk. What you're going to see is that is a difference of about $222,000. So you'd probably be going, well, Jared, I thought you just said we're not going to be paying as much, so why is it up so much? To understand that, let's look at a few things that have happened this year that will open your eyes up. Because everything I'm fixing to talk about brings more money in, but we spend more money. And that's really our concept here is, if we're going to have something, we have to have a way to pay for it, right? So that's where we're at. The projected fiscal court contribution this year is $940,000. Last year at this time, the projected fiscal court contribution was $975,000. That's the money that we're asking for, would be the $940,000. What's happened between last year and this year is several new programs, all of which my team at the Sheriff's Office worked relentlessly to find ways to fund and pay for in conjunction with fiscal court. To understand those, let's look at the revenue stream. So everybody pull up your revenue print. Revenue page is the one that starts with federal grants at the top. Everybody got that? We good? All right. If you look at the second item, it's called COPS grant. We didn't have that last year. We've mentioned it. You've all been informed about it over the course of the year. We've talked about me getting the COPS grant, how that was going to benefit us in one way or another. The COPS grant approximately will bring in about $85,107 this next year. COPS it helps fund a couple of our officers. We pay 25% of it. The other revenue stream is paid for by the federal government. That was the $250,000 grant that I went out and got us. Remember us talking about the $250,000 grant? It's a 3-year grant. So we're bringing in $85,000 from that grant. That's a projection. Keep in mind, in a few minutes, we're talking about spending money. This money's all been spent, but that's why one of the reasons the budget is higher, but fiscal court's contribution is lower. Secondly, you remember the project we started with the school. We were all in agreement that we were going to do the school resource officer. We were all in agreement that it's going to take a position to do that, and it has to be funded. The funding mechanism on that is the school for this next year, and then after that, there will be a new contract. So there is a revenue stream coming in there. It's about $63,275. No, because I know people that listen to this, your school resource officer does not get paid $63,000 to be the school resource officer. That amount covers all the things that happen behind the scenes with an employee. You know, if you make $25,000 as an employee, it runs about $50,000 by the time you pay retirement, health insurance, and all those things. So that figure reflects about what it takes for that position. But again, that is income coming in, but it's also money getting spent out on the other end. HIDTA, high intensity drug trafficking area. That's been mentioned in here. You've heard about it. Simpson County and Logan County were designated high intensity drug trafficking areas because of the methamphetamine problems that we've been having. That is a funding mechanism that comes into the drug task force to fund overtime for special operations that they do on the drug areas. Why is it mentioned in my sheriff's office budget? Remember, we have 2 positions at the sheriff's office that are assigned to the drug task force. The way the drug task force operates is 4 agencies are on the task force. Simpson County Sheriff's Office, Logan County Sheriff's Office, Russellville PD, and Franklin PD. We have 2 officers on there. They are employees of the Sheriff's Office. They are on special assignment to the task force to take care of the special missions. We pay them. They are my employees. They're paid by us. The HIDTA program allows quite a bit of overtime opportunities for them. HIDTA pays that. A check will come to fiscal court for their overtime. It goes through Nicole, but it has to be in my line item because we're writing the check. So again, that's good news. It's about $56,000 that will be coming in overtime for the drug task force guys that work through the sheriff's office. The next thing, and I'm not going to go through everything on the revenue, but these are the things that are different. You've never seen this before. This was a project that we were all committed to work on together. You will see vehicle sales for $28,000. That will be a revenue stream. I have 2 Crown Vics that you've already said, Jerry, sell. I wasn't able to sell them the way I wanted to, but we're going to get them sold. I think we're going to get about $3,000 for those. It's $3,000 for the both of them because they're not worth anything. They're old, but when we have our sale, they'll get sold there. So where's this other money come from? Because I've got $28,000 here. We made the commitment that we were going to take a vehicle 2 years ago. Actually, it's about 1.5 years ago now, that I was going to buy. We were going to use it as a transport vehicle so that it's got just road miles on it, put limited equipment in it so it could be changed over easily. And we would run it about 2 to 3 years, and then we would try to sell it as our experiment. Remember our experiment? Our experimental vehicle, to see if we can actually sell it and buy another one and come out not even, but real close to even. Because y'all remember when the car people came in, we said, well, we've kind of got a program we're trying. That's what this is. Why is there money on here? Because you got a revenue side, you got an expense side. In a few minutes, we're going to talk about cars when we go over to what I'm spending, and you're going to go, wait a minute, that's $110,000, Jerry. That's not $81,000 that you usually ask for to get 2 cars. I want to buy 2 cars, but I want a third car, which we're buying, but we're just replacing. It's not an extra car. I need that. I have to be able to buy one to sell one, if that makes any sense. So that's what this revenue stream here of $28,000 is. Yes, I think that third vehicle that is our experimental vehicle, I think we'll sell it for at least $25,000, and I'll buy one for about $28,000. So it's saying, use it for 3 years, it's running us about $1,000 a year to run that vehicle, which is be outstanding if it happens. So that's where that's at. Everything else on there, there's no need me going through here. Those are just various revenues and our projections. If you want to glance at them real quick before we go to expenses, I'll be glad to answer your questions, but those are my projections for this next year. Any questions about revenue coming in?
So the sale of 3 vehicles should net us enough money to buy 1 vehicle.
Well, it's going to come close.
Should.
Yeah,
Close to it.
my projection, and you may bid more than what I'm talking about. I've got a nice truck that we all talked about when we bought it that I want to sell. Why? It's a nice truck and it'll bring in good money. I think it'll bring in $25,000. Maybe bring in more than that. To buy a new truck, it's going to run $28,000. So I need $28,000. I need y'all to say you can have that 28, and my projection on revenue is when we get this 25, it's coming in. Somebody may bid 26 on it. I don't know. But that's our experiment. If it works, what you have done, you have taken 1 vehicle, ran it for 3 years, and probably spent $2,500 to $3,500 to run a vehicle across the state that was under warranty, and it only cost you that. That's remarkable. Do you realize if you did that with your entire fleet, and I'm not trying to convince you to do that, a fleet of 20 vehicles, if you did it every other year, you're talking about $40,000 to replace vehicles when you're flipping them that way. It'd be too hard to do with that many vehicles. So I'm not trying to get you to do that, but that is the concept of what they were telling you about, but they had management fees and stuff. That's what you're doing here, just on a small scale of 1 vehicle. You see what I'm saying? Keep in mind the $128,000 coming in. If it costs you $1,500 to do this experiment, it's a good experiment. Think of it, well, we'll take part of that $128,000 extra revenue that Jerry brought in this year in the grant money to do it. Bottom line, when we get to the other sheet, yeah, it's about a $1,500, $1,900 difference. When I say that, that's I can lower my budget $1,900, not do this third vehicle, and we can continue on the same cycle that we've been doing. But I'll be truthful. I look at each of you gentlemen the same as y'all want me to tell you the truth. When we discuss these things, I need to hear the truth from you, because for 2 years now, we've been talking about doing what I'm standing here today to do, so.
So this was the reason of purchasing a pickup truck?
Yes,
Correct?
yes, sir.
Now, I think that pickup truck was actually purchased during a different administration, but I remember.
No, it wasn't, Myron.
Right.
This pickup truck was purchased August, it was 1 year old. Why am I talking about 2.5 years? It's gonna be a year. July is when this budget will officially be said and done, so it will be a little bit over 2 years when I start looking at purchasing. There's been 2 vehicles that have come through here, this one and one more. We've had 2 experimental vehicles. Neither one of them's been sold. They're both in use right now.
I just remember back before I took office, that this, a pickup truck.
Yeah, yeah.
A pickup.
And I'm not being cursed about it. Honestly, it's a no-brainer. I don't even know why we're taking a big, but I don't mind answering the questions. But this is a no-brainer. If you guys don't want to do it, that's fine with me, but shame on you for the past couple of years saying, yeah, that's a good thing for us to try. I'm not finagling you. Honestly, it's a good truck. Bring $25,000, it's foolish not to do that. That's my recommendation to you guys.
Don't
So-
shame us yet, Sheriff.
Huh?
Don't shame us yet.
Yeah, you're the only one really talking.
Well, I'm sorry. You know what? I do talk a lot, Marty, you know it.
And so, I mean, honestly, and I'm gonna say this for you guys' sake, just so y'all know, I mean, I spent a couple hours with the sheriff last week talking about all this. So if y'all see me sit here and I don't really ask a lot of questions, I've done asked the sheriff about all the questions, but I may bring up some points once he gets done talking.
Hey, you guys ask me all you want, and I do apologize, because I'll talk forever. Every line on here, I can talk an hour about.
When we get done, we'll kick you out. Just don't shame us yet.
My wife has to tell me I'm a passionate talker, or we're arguing all the time. She says, you're just passionate about what you're talking about. Okay, any other questions on the revenue side? All right, let's go to the other page, which is going to be your expenses. Really, the only thing that's different, and we've already beat that horse to death, is the vehicles. Why would usually when I'm putting about 81,000, 82,000 in to buy 2 vehicles, that's what we need. Is it 110? It's to buy 3 vehicles. Buy 2, and then there's a third vehicle, which is just a replacement. So,
Well, if you take that 28 off of it, you're about what you was last year.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I was getting at, is we're not really asking for more money for vehicles. We're trying to sell one and replace it.
But everything is about the same on it. I mean, we got the extra for the school.
Yeah.
The school resource and the retirements went up.
Our,
First, I want to say I appreciate you bringing it to us now, instead of being anywhere like we've been doing in the past. We can look over it, and it gives us time to look at it. Everything on here looks good to me, except I hope you're right on the fuel. I hope the fuel goes up $2,000, because I'm concerned that figure may be low for you, but I'm just afraid these fuel costs are going to go.
Marty, I totally agree with you. The budget I bring to you guys, and this is why July, it doesn't do any good when I get up here to go, what can you trim out, Jerry? I trim it as low as we can go when I bring it in here. Marty is exactly right. Is that enough money for fuel? I raised it about $2,000. We've got a couple of things that are going to hit the sheriff's office here. We've got 2 guys that are in the academy. That's another reason our budget is a little bit different than it would have been last year. Last year I had 2 guys I was hiring to go to the academy. They're in 1 pay scale. This year they're actually going to the academy and going to get out, so they'll be making more and their benefits change. But what does 2 more bodies working on shift as deputies mean? It does mean more patrol time, which is good for Simpson County, more units to respond, but Marty hit on it just perfect. That's 2 more vehicles that are gonna have gas in them. So I raised our fuel about 2,000. Honestly, that's gonna be close because depending on what fuel sales does, you know, if the price shoots up and we're driving more, sometimes we borrow money from other places, but,
I might would add another $2,500, $3,000 on that line item if it was, I don't know how y'all
Yeah,
feel about it.
I don't know, what do you know, or did you just take a number that we had and just put 2,000, or did you try to calculate like a price per gallon? And
I looked at what we did last year and then reflected on, some of the things that I just told you about. Who's in the academy, what vehicles we're gonna be running.
I don't.
There's no way to hit it because we don't know the gas
You don't know what
price.
it's gonna do, but my expectations is probably a little like Marty's, you know, gas is $1.80 or so now, $1.78 or $1.82, whatever it is.
It goes up 20
I
cents.
I wouldn't be surprised by this time next year if it's not 50% more than it is right now.
I could see it very well, you easily see it being in the 250 range.
Yeah.
Well, for the final budget, if it's okay with all you, and that's what I like, I bring in the trim budget and I listen to your suggestions and I don't mind doing this. I just don't want it to be an issue when it comes in. We'll look at increasing the gas, because I agree with you, Marty, it should probably be $3,000 to $4,000 more to make it safe. I don't think we'd need to go much more than that, but that would give us a little buffer space there, so.
I just hate not to. And I understand all this, you know, the only concern I have in the future is when these grants go away, if they go away, it can cause a burden on us.
Well, here's the good things, and you're right. First, the COPS grant is a 3-year grant. So we've got that for 3 years. Nutrition, if I see we're not going, well, the COPS grant will go away. I don't know we'll get another COPS grant. It's not a permanent grant. We got that for 3 years. Over the course of 3 years, we're going to lose some people. We'll try to replace them, but as we get into the last year, if I see we don't have funding for that, our revenue stream's been coming up for 3 years. So if we keep our revenue stream coming up for 3 years, we should be at a stage that we're able to pay for those positions. The good news, and this is something you've been waiting, you're the only one that's been here this long, for 7 years to hear me say, is this year we have now got the sheriff's office to the size I think it should be. I'm not trying to grow it anymore. I know y'all have always thought, that's just something you're saying. That's not just something I'm saying. There was a place we needed to be. As of now, I think our size is the size it needs to be. I've got one guy coming in this year, and that puts us there. I don't think we need to grow anymore. I think, depending on what Simpson County does, we're good for probably the next 3 to 4 years. And then we can evaluate where we need to be. Now, we'll lose people and add people, but we're not growing our numbers. It's just somebody's left and gone to a different job. I think we're good for the next 3 to 4 years. Our revenue should increase over the 3 to 4 years. And I think that will offset what we bring in on the COPS in the long run if we can do that. And if not, when we lose somebody, we may not replace them at that point. It just depends on what is needed. I don't ever want to pay somebody just to be there, and we don't do that. We only fill the spots that we need.
And the expense out on the HIDA grant, I mean, it's going to be there forever.
HIDA will be a wash. Here's what happens on HIDA. HIDA is a permanent thing.
Yeah.
But let's say the federal government did away with HIDA. It is overtime monies going to the drug detectives, so you just cut their overtime so you don't get to work.
That's what I'm saying. If it happened to go away, you're just going to have to quit that program.
Right.
And the same way kind of with the school resource, that money's there. If for some reason they say, well, we're not paying it anymore, then most likely we're not going to provide the officer anymore either.
Correct. Correct. So I think we're safe on everything but the COPS, which is a 3-year grant, and I think we will be looking at that, not unaware that it's going to end at some point to help offset it. But this is the 3 years of savings that I was talking about that the COPS grant will give us. So that's a good thing. Marty mentioned the gas, so I'm going to make a note on that. I will tell you, and I'd mentioned it to the judge, the only other place I think we should, if I could have more money, where would I want it? And I'm just talking about a few $1,000s, the range. And here's the reason. When manufacturing shut down, if any of you use weapons, what you know is it's almost impossible to go get ammunition right now. The price of ammunition has doubled. I think I raised that like $1,000, but, if we had to make it, but we've got to train and we have to shoot. That's not, we just want to do it for fun. We're required to do that. I told the judge the other day, I said, we're not trying to get your money from the coronavirus that the state sends down, but when you look at allocating that, if we could have $3,000 of it to buy ammo with, it would be nice. I said, that's a true coronavirus. So
That's
if
the
you,
firing range.
that's firing, that's to buy ammo for the firing range, because ammo has literally doubled in price.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, $1,000 don't buy much ammunition right now.
So if you think you would accept it, I can save us all a bunch of time and add about 3,000 or so for the gas and about maybe 2,500 more for ammo. Is that something you all could,
Well,
for the
and
firing
I
range?
think, and I may be wrong, and Nicole or Sam or whoever would need to correct me on this, feel free to do so. But yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that, and the bottom line is, even if you added another 2,500 in fuel and 3,000 for ammo, you're still $30-some thousand less in fiscal court appropriation than we were this current fiscal year. But I think today, Sheriff, all we really have to do is acknowledge that we received this, and then vote on a maximum of your salary cap, or of that, is that right?
But when he was talking about the CARES money, it does bring up another thing. I don't know how much of that we have left, I don't know how much that we've spent. And I like the vehicle replacement idea we have. And so.
And I think it'll work too.
I do too, because, and that's what I was about to say. If we can use that CARES money to allot him another vehicle and let him sell one of the old ones, and then the next time he sells two, he's got two on his program.
Yeah.
And go that route. And it's not just going, I'm not saying we just throw money into the sheriff's office, but I'm saying while we've got the CARES money and it's not coming down to our general fund, if we could take and allot him another vehicle so that the next time when he sells, he could sell two vehicles and replace it with two, and that,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just common sense.
And the answer to your question, Marty, on the CARES money, and Nicole was there to hear this, and this was all, I mean, at the beginning of this, when we were having all of the meetings and the conferences, and I told you guys then, and it sounds it sounds really brash what I'm about to tell you, but I don't mean it that way, it's just what they said. But basically, they said this CARES money would be at the sole discretion of the judge as to how it would be appropriated.
Yes, that is correct. And just to clarify, so you all understand the CARES money is a reimbursement. So we've already sent in all the expenses.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we're being reimbursed
Yeah.
for those expenses. So, and basically it flowed in through a federal grant fund that we had set up for tracking, mainly for the auditor purposes. And of course, as you know, you all have approved cash transfers already to move that money from the federal grant fund back into our general fund where those expenses have incurred. So, I mean, that's kind of how it cares. So it's in the general fund, in the cash flow. It's reimbursed the general fund because we've already expended it out. So it's to offset that cash flow of what we already.
So, right, and and what Nicole's saying is exactly, absolutely correct. And here's the thing that we'll be able to look at, because here's what I'm telling all y'all. While, yes, that's what they said about the judge, I don't want the expenditure of that money to be at my sole discretion. I want it to be a decision that the fiscal court makes when we're doing budget of what we're gonna do and how we're gonna do it and all that. Because it is just reimbursement money, like, and the public they should hear and understand what we're talking about here. You know, originally we had allocated, I think it was $632,000 and some odd dollars. And then we just recently had another allocation of just under 215. It was like 214, eight something. So you're talking about $845,000 that we got in the CARES money, but as Nicole was saying, in order to get that money, the only way we could have gotten the entire allocation was to have proven that we actually had expenses that totaled that much, and we've got to make those expenses. So what we need to look at as we go into the next budget, and I like your idea. And I think it's a good idea. I think the sheriff had a good plan when he brought that over here. Because anytime, if you can buy a vehicle and sell it 2 or 3 years later within a couple of $1,000s of what you paid for it, that's a smart move. But at any rate, so we look at all that because what we will know coming into budget, because we also projected with all of the closures, you know, we had all these business closures, and now we know that occupational tax revenue is down and all that. We will know by the time we get through this fiscal year or get close to the end of it and we're planning for the next. You know, we projected as we were talking going into the fiscal year, we thought we'd be down about 480,000 in occupational tax revenue. Well, we'll have a better grasp on that as we get, you know, into April and you know, get you know, just a few months out. So we'll know exactly kind of where we're at, because personally, I don't want us to say, hey, we got $800,000, let's just go have a lot of fun. No, that's a big mistake, because this retirement thing hit us with 12%, and I have a feeling they're going to continue to do it. I don't know if they'll extend that original 10-year period, but I do think there is a portion of that money that we can do some things like you're talking about.
That's all I was saying.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the reason.
So, but
I don't know.
I went the long way. I'm kind of like the sheriff. I talk a lot too, and I went the long way around saying we can kind of pretty much do what we want to do with the money, but I want it to be a collective decision as we get into budget time.
That's the reason I was just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
If there's money, because I know that's where we bought the fire department.
Yeah.
From. And that's the only reason I said, while we're in the position that we could have some extra.
Yeah.
And it doesn't throw a hurt on the sheriff's budget or the county budget. And then in 2 years, he can buy 2 vehicles.
Actually, in the long run, it could help us. In the long run, it could help us.
It very well could.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason I said something about it. I don't know if we can budget anything, do anything on that, but that was just an idea I had we could throw out, that I wanted to throw out there.
It was outstanding.
So, yeah, so today, really, Sheriff, all we've got to do is acknowledge that you brought us your annual budget and then vote on the salary number that's here.
I'll fine tune those two. I know you don't need it, but it's easier on me to know. Believe me, I spend plenty of time projecting the future, and I need to project the future correctly without going, well, I don't know what's going to happen in July. And I know y'all don't know for sure what's happening in July, but I need to have a pretty good idea of what's happening, because that's what I make plans on. I think that's most of the questions, but this budget reflects the fiscal year numbers so that we're all on the same page. I'm required to do a calendar year budget, so really these figures are from, my budget's fixing to end, technically by the state standards, but since it's connected to y'all's. So I stopped doing calendar year numbers. These are actually, it's 6 months before these numbers would even really kick in. So that's a good thing. Unless you have any other questions, your 93 to 94% personnel is the same as every year is about what this budget covers. And about 6% of it gets down to paying for the stuff that we use. So answer any other questions you have. If not, I think that.
Y'all have any more questions? So, Sam, do we have to do this in 2 votes, like make a vote that we acknowledge that the sheriff delivered his annual budget presentation in a motion and a second?
I don't necessarily think you have to acknowledge.
I know we had to set the total, whatever that dollar figure is for the.
For the salary, yes.
Last year, on the January 7th meeting, the court approved the sheriff's 2022 budget as presented, and then the second motion was to.
Yeah, you don't have to do either one of those, you only do that when you adopt it.
Hold on a second.
The second motion that would go with that motion was to accept approve the annual order setting maximum amount of sheriff's deputies and assistants. So that we normally do both motions at the same time.
Both at the same time?
But you're not approving the budget.
And, right, I understand. We're just acknowledging that we
I
received.
don't think you have to do the pay thing until you approve the budget, is what she's saying.
So I can just make note that we're acknowledged the receipt, the court acknowledged receipt. I don't know that that's necessarily a vote.
The sheriff's budget has to be approved by January 30th, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
And I have to present it by the 8th. I've now presented it. I've done my part, Jim.
Okay,
We have to send it into the state on the 15th, right?
right. So we meet again on the 5th. So if you want to make those two changes, we could plug those in, and then in our January meeting, we could approve it and set those maximum salaries.
The ones again on
The January 5th meeting.
Hey, I appreciate getting in here early.
Yeah,
It makes it, the judge asked me, he said, do you want to do it now or do you? I said, no, it's much easier to do before Christmas. Makes the
I agree.
holidays run a little bit smoother for everybody.
all right. So we'll make those two changes, and in the January meeting, we'll approve your budget as presented and set those maximum
Yes.
salaries.
And if anybody sees something they want to know about, feel free to call me, stop by the sheriff's office, even the public. I'm glad to talk to everybody I can about anything. See you guys.
Sheriff, thank you. All right, moving on, gentlemen, if you guys had an opportunity to review the minutes from our December 1st regular meeting, I need a motion and a second to approve those minutes.
Motion made.
Motion by Nate, second by Scott. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Next is to review and approve the second reading and passage of fiscal year 2021 budget amendment number 5. It's ordinance number 220.221. And I believe this is the ordinance where we're amending in some money into the sheriff's office through a CAECO grant and through a sale. Roughly 9905. We'll have to do something about these eyes. So a motion by Myron,
Second.
second by Nate. Any discussion or question? We'll take a roll call vote on the ordinance.
Myron Herman,
Yes.
Nathaniel Downing,
Yes.
Marty Chandler,
Yes.
Scott Huston,
Yes.
Mason Barnes,
Yes. Next, gentlemen, if you had an opportunity to review this next budget amendment ordinance, we would need a motion and a second to approve the first reading and passage of fiscal year 2021 budget amendment number 6, ordinance number 220.222. I knew there was an 8 in the end of that CARES Act money, but it's at the end instead of the beginning. It's 214,168, and then the HIDA for 18,000. So this is revenue being amended into the budget. In the total amount of 232,168. Got a motion by Nate, second by Scott. Any other question or discussion? If not, we'll take a roll call vote on that amendment, or that ordinance.
Nathaniel Downing,
Yes.
Scott Huston.
Yes.
Myron Herman,
Yes.
Marty Chandler,
Yes.
Mason Barnes,
Yes. All right, next, gentlemen, if you had an opportunity to review, we have one more ordinance. It is a zone change ordinance, number 920.116, and it is a zone change changing just over 2.5 acres on Tyree Chapel Road from I-1 back to agriculture. And if you have questions, Carter's out here, he's in the hallway if you have questions. But
My only question is why?
Carter, do you know the answer as to why was this zone change requested?
You very seldom hear.
Very seldom you hear wanting to go from I-1 to A1, but it seemed like an appropriate change.
This I-1 was changed from agriculture a little over a year ago for a location for a cabinet shop. The individual was wanting to move his cabinet shop from Portland to Franklin, and he wanted to start a business out there. So it was more appropriate to do this because of its proximate location to the interstate, and where it was being somewhat remote. After he had bought the property and held it for a little while, he decided that he didn't want to go that way and felt like that he wanted to change it back. He had somebody wanting to buy it, basically, to put a home on it, so that's why the zone change took place. Okay?
I just,
Yeah, very seldom do you see a piece of industrial property being requested to change back to ag, but I think it's probably an appropriate move. Myron's made the motion, Scott seconded. Any other question or discussion? All right, we'll take a roll call vote on that one. Scott was the second.
Myron Vernon,
Yes.
Scott Poston.
Yes.
Nathaniel County,
yes.
Marty Chandler,
Yes.
Mason Barnes.
Yes. All right, gentlemen, as y'all remember, we tabled this at our December 1st meeting. Magistrate Chandler had a question about the diesel part of this tax. And this is the resolution that would support the Kentucky Transportation's funding mechanism as they're trying to make a push for a gas tax. So let me tell you what I found out, and then I'll explain some things, and then I'll leave it to y'all. So I talked with Representative Sal Santoro, who is the representative that's really making the push for the fuel tax to get funding back to a level where we can actually maintain and build the necessary roads and bridges and stuff that we need to. As you see in that map, if you look, there was a map included in there, and I think the Kentucky gas tax was a right smart less than some of the surrounding states, other than Missouri. Doggone, Missouri's got a good gas tax rate, don't they? But at any rate, so the answer to your question, Marty, was that the way that Representative Santoro wants to proceed with this is that it would include diesel fuel also. So here's where I'm at, and here's the situation, but what we do with this resolution is up to you guys. First off, I think all of us understand that we do not need to continue losing revenue to fix or repair roads. And as Simpson County grows, as the entire state most likely will see some growth, it's probably going to be new roads that are going to have to be cut in, made too. Where are we going to get that money? You're going to have to eventually do something. So in respect to, should we adequately fund the road projects, the Kentucky Transportation, absolutely, I'm in favor of that. We absolutely need to adequately fund it. The flip side of that is, not one of the five of us have any say whatsoever into how they fund it or what they do. Basically, this resolution, all it really says is the Simpson County Fiscal Court does agree that we need to appropriately and fully fund our transportation department and fix roads. So I have no problem with the resolution, but before I sign it, I want it to be a unanimous decision of the fiscal court. And my preference would be, if it's not a unanimous decision, that we not sign it and send it to them. I mean, really sending it to them, all it signifies is, hey, there's another county that says we got to do something.
Well, I brought that up last week, or 2 weeks ago at the last meeting. And the ultimate ones that's gonna pay for it are the end users. So if it costs more to transport products to the store or whatever, the consumer's gonna end up paying it.
We'll all end up paying it.
Unless it's farm products, and then we don't have no say over that.
Yeah.
But I agree, we need to fund the road projects, but.
And I don't know if there's a better mechanism for funding the transportation than a fuel tax. And that's kind of the frustration. I know all of us there. You might have been there. We sit around and talk, and if y'all recall, one of the county judges, I forget who it was or where he was from, he stood up and said, y'all say this all the time. why don't you get off your butts and do something? We can't change the tax, we can't do it. If y'all need to do it, and quit asking us for your help.
They don't wanna take the heat for it.
They don't want.
The only thing, I will say, the only thing that really irritates me is like on the, Allen County, Simpson County line at the county bridge. They spent $1 million on this bridge. They did not do anything to the columns holding the bridge up. They did not make it any wider. They did not make it any safer. For more dollar, it would cost them more money. I don't know what it would have cost. It would have been more, but it wouldn't have been double. But they could have had a wider bridge that was safer, with a better structure. The guys working on it said within 12, 15 years, they're gonna have to be back working on that bridge again.
Yeah.
So I hate to see them spend money, and their reason was, well, we can do more bridges if we do it like this one. Well, if you're not making them better,
If you're not making them any better, why do it?
and you're not making them safer for years out, you're really not spending your money wisely.
I don't disagree with that
So
at
that's,
all.
if we could pass that along, they need to, if they're gonna do something, do it right and not,
Yeah, but to truly fund what they're wanting, they're gonna need a 30-cent increase.
Yeah, and understand too, yeah, and I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying there, but understand too, whether we send in this resolution or whether we don't,
Doesn't matter.
we will have no voice in what they set the tax at, if they even do it at all.
I would guess they won't do it at all.
Yeah, I mean, and that could be the case. I mean, they may get this resolution from 80 of the 120 counties and see that 2/3 of the counties are saying, yeah, hey, you gotta do something, and they may still do nothing.
Well, they already had like a mock vote at one of our conferences, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We went to.
Yeah.
Everybody in favor of 10-cent
Oh, yeah.
increase. I mean,
From local, this was the funny thing, they had the mock vote from local elected officials,
Exactly.
but the ones that could do something still aren't voting.
But
So-
this is diesel fuel's way.
Well, here's the thing, Representative Santoro said that the way he wants to present it, it would include all fuels, diesel and gasoline. But obviously there again, just by us sending in this resolution doesn't mean that it's gonna be either or. I mean, we don't know. Basically, all this resolution would do would say that the Simpson County Fiscal Court agrees that the legislature needs to do something to adequately and fully fund the Kentucky transportation.
You know,
But here again, if any of you have a reservation about doing the resolution, I would prefer we don't, because unless we can have a unanimous on it, I don't want to sign it and send it in. And I'm not saying that to pressure any of you anyway, because it doesn't matter to me. Because honestly, whether we give it to them or whether we don't, I guess they're still going to do what we're going to do. But I do truly believe that if we don't start adequately funding the road department,
How much did we lose this year?
well, we lost, what was it, $80,000 or $90,000 this year? It's on there somewhere between 70 and 90,000. We have no idea what it'll be down again going into the next fiscal year.
Well, I think we should fund, I think the transportation should be funded, but like you said, we don't have any say in that.
No.
They're only wanting this, so they can say, well, your county leaders said that we should do this.
Exactly.
If they do it, then they don't have to take as much heat, they can throw it back on the
Of
counties.
course, on the flip side of that too, when everybody calls and complains that you've got to run over speed bumps at 70 miles an hour on I-65, we could say, well, we sent a resolution to the state and told them they need to raise the revenue to fix this stuff.
That's what I tell them on Gold City Road.
Yeah. So I mean,
And that road is horrible.
it is. I just come down it yesterday. Yeah. Yeah. The westbound lane is pitiful.
Yes, sir. But they've got a bump, a big sign that has bump on it. There's like 12 of them down Gold City Road. In just a little piece from the rock quarry to
Yeah.
to the Southern State place. There's about, looks like 10 or 12 of those signs.
Yeah. So guys, this is entirely up to you guys. I'm good with it if you're good with it, but this is one of those things that, yes, I understand that this is a majority rules. If 3 of you say do it and 2 don't, we can still do it. But this is one of these things I would prefer to have a majority on, but
Well, I'll move that we send it up, that we support funding the road, or the transportation department.
so you make a motion that you authorize me to sign this resolution and send it to them?
Yeah, if we get a unanimous vote. How's
If
that?
we, okay, so Marty's made a motion.
Because you've already said you don't want to sign it if it's not
Yeah,
unanimous.
so Marty's made a motion. Myron second. Any other question or discussion? All in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? We'll sign it and send it in. Let's hope we get enough money to fix a few roads.
Congratulations, you achieved unanimity, Judge.
But it don't mean we're gonna achieve any better funding for the road department.
It's
Journey
another
of
mock
1,000
vote.
miles. Hey, Mason,
You wanna say that again, Scott?
Yeah, this is just another mock vote.
my reply is, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step.
That's right. Okay. You know, we kind of laugh and we kind of joke about it, but of course, well, obviously, we haven't been able to have conferences this year. But I mean, every single conference we went to last year, this was a discussion.
Yeah.
This was a discussion. And every single time it come up, every judge and every magistrate in that room was like, well, why don't y'all fix it?
Election year.
Yeah, so here we are. All right, next, gentlemen, if you had an opportunity to review some board appointments to the library board, we'll need a motion and a second, and I think since both of these are to the same board, we can do them both in one motion.
So
To do what?
I'm on that board, so I'll make the motion.
All right, so let me get to what we're making a motion for here real quick.
Well, I know.
Marty says he can read, so if y'all can read, we don't need to talk no more. No, Sarah Wakefield to a 4-year term that'll run through December 31 of 2024, and to reappoint Bobby Bush to a 4-year term that would run through December 31st of 2024. Marty's made the motion. Scott seconded. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Gentlemen, moving on to financial business. Budget transfers, there's about $2,355 of budget transfers. If you see some of the Office of Emergency Management, fire, telephone, planning and zoning postage, we just need a motion and a second to authorize those transfers.
Motion made.
Motion by Nate, second by Myron. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, gentlemen, obviously we have, this is December 15th. The way that December fell came, Tuesday came in on the first day of the month, so we got 16 more days of December, but we don't have a meeting, and then we don't meet again till January 5th. But in crunching the numbers, Nicole says that we're gonna need to make this cash transfer from $50,000 from the general fund to the jail to be able to cover some utilities and payroll and such between then and January. To give you an overview, and Jailer, you're here, so if you have any questions, you're free to talk about that. Currently, of the appropriations that started July 1 through June 30th that we set, there's $302,142 of those appropriations left. Obviously, there is still a $44,087.04 bond payment, and then there is still the $68,750 for the control room repairs that's got to come out. That brings that to $189,304. This $50,000 transfer would leave a balance of $139,304.96.
$139, what do you say?
$139,304.96. Sheriff?
Yes,
Don't let Bob Palmer completely leave. I'm going to need him later. If you have to handcuff,
he's there, sir.
thank you. Of course, the situation is here, these are just utilities. and payroll.
A motion to transfer.
Got a motion by Scott, second by Myron. Any other question or discussion? I will say in this, and Jailer, this is not a knock on you, so don't take this as a knock. But I can tell you, Nicole and Michelle are monitoring everything that happens because, I mean, that's what they said they would do. They're doing it. We're examining it all. We're trying to work through it. Any other question or discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, next, gentlemen, if you had an opportunity to review the bills and claims, we just need a motion and a second to approve those bills and claims.
Motion made.
Motion by Nate,
I'll say.
second by Marty. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And finally, under financial business, the November 30th, 2020 financial statement, if you had an opportunity to review that, we need a motion and a second to approve that statement subject to audit and authorize the county treasurer and the county judge to sign it. Motion by Marty, second by Myron. Any other question or discussion? All in favor, aye. Aye. Motion carried. All right, moving on to reports. I have a secret envelope here from the PVA. And Nicole, I may need your help with this, but we appropriate money to the PVA for training.
No, it's for, there's some like office supplies kind of go through, like a telephone and some supplies, but then it's also for a deputy hire.
Okay.
To offset that, and it's mandated by the state, and we are KRS
That we have to fund that part. Okay, so the other day, and I'll read this letter, Allison Cummings, our PVA, sent this letter over. It said, "Dear members of the Simpson County Fiscal Court, enclosed is a check from the Simpson County PVA office. This check is for reimbursement from our fall conference and a little extra from our inspection ad. The PVA fall conference was virtual this year, only $60, and therefore all of my allocation was not needed. The total that I'm returning to the Simpson County Fiscal Court is $388. So when we appropriated that money, she's gone through all of the expenses that our appropriation was to cover, and she didn't use it all, so she sent the money back. So, well,
As it should be.
as it should be, and I commend our PVA for sending that money back. And I just thought I would share that with you guys. So someone else needs this check after this meeting's over, because I'm not supposed to hold these checks. I don't want to hold these checks. All right, that was pretty good. One thing I want to do here right now is we're halfway through this current elected term, which is halfway through my first term as county judge, and 3 of his first term as magistrate, and Marty's 4th term?
I'm on 4th term.
As magistrate. But anyway, we're halfway through this year. We're right here at the end of the year. And what I want to say is, first off, thank you to you guys for listening to me and working with me. I appreciate that. But I want to thank all of our county departments. Y'all do a great job. I mean, every department. The ladies in my office do a great job. Planning and zoning does a great job. The sheriff and his staff do a great job. The jailer and his staff do a great job. Bobby and his road crew do a great job. Leslie, you, the chief, the fire department does a great job. Bill does a great job with maintenance. Bob does a great job with emergency management. I'm saying all that to say this. We have a lot of really, really good people that work for the county that really do care. And they do a great job. And I can tell you from the perspective of the county judge executive, all of you make my job a lot easy. I mean, a lot easier than I was really expecting it to be. to be very honest, you do a great job, and I'm very appreciative of what all of you do, and I just want to let all of you know that. So, I'll say this too, real quick. And here's one thing I want to thank all you guys for, is seeing the need in adding the extra person to the administrative staff here. And this is no one's fault, this is just the way it is, but this is why that hire was really important and why it's working so good. Pam had a scheduled day off yesterday that she needed to be off. Carter had a scheduled day off that was needed to be off. And then we also had Julie call in sick yesterday morning, which under regular circumstances or times prior would have left the planning and zoning office virtually closed yesterday. Sydney went and worked that planning and zoning office by herself yesterday. And honestly, from the folks that come in, because for those who don't know, when you go into the planning and zoning office to get a permit, they fill out all of your permit stuff, but all of the money comes over to my office, and Pam receipts all that money in, or Nicole, or Michelle, any of the ladies can receipt it in. Typically it's Pam. We've had nothing but just compliment after compliment about the way she's handling things on that planning and zoning side. And she's also picking up just boom, boom, boom on the stuff going on in our office and doing a great job. So I want to compliment y'all on that, because that was a progressive move that actually helped keep the planning and zoning office open yesterday, where it would have typically been closed. Because with Pam being scheduled out already, it would have been very hard, if not impossible, to send Nicole or Michelle over to try to man planning and zoning. And I'm getting a look from Nicole right now like that's not going to happen. So I think everybody does a great job. I'm very appreciative of what all of you do. You make my job easy, and I appreciate that. And I'll wrap up by saying 10 days from now, it's Christmas. I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. And just like Scott said in his opening prayer, let's remember that Christmas is really not about trees and gifts and all of that, which they're all nice, but it was the gift that God gave to us, His Son. And I'm most appreciative for that. We wish everybody a Merry Christmas. Marty?
That's what I was gonna say. I wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I hope everyone stays safe and enjoy their time with their family and friends. But I also want to bring up an issue that I've brought up to you all on an individual basis and in the group too. We've got a serious issue out of the Tyson plant. On the mornings, somebody's going to get killed there one of these mornings. I'm telling y'all guys, those trucks set. One morning I had a video sent to me. There was trucks in turning lane and in both emergency lanes. And one of these mornings, somebody's going to come through there in a car, and one of those feed trucks is going to come out. Somebody's going to get hurt bad right there. And that property has enough acreage to build a parking lot. There's no other business in this community that is allowed to use a state highway as a parking lot. And I don't know what we need to do to either make them do it or encourage them to do it. But I guarantee you, if trucks were sitting there waiting to turn into TSC like that, they'd be down there doing something. And 31W is too much traffic on that road. And, and I have a lot of my friends that haul corn out there, and we haul ingredients out there. If somebody were to be sitting there and they get hit on that road, then they're going to get sued. And the property owner's going to get sued, and anybody else, if there's somebody walking by, they could say they're going to sue them. So I'm just saying it's a serious issue. It's not going to get any better, but next month is January contract delivery month, and it'll be the same way of the morning. And they're telling me if you're sitting out there to turn your four-way flashers on, they need to build a parking lot to put those trucks on. And I don't know what we need to do to get this done, but it's not fair to
trying to
people
talk to
driving
them
out
about
there.
it. But I guess here's the question, Sheriff: Can someone be cited for parking in the turn lane?
Yes.
And I don't know.
couple things going on there, sir.
You can come up and address this,
But
so.
while he's getting there, I'm gonna say, that would not be fair to the guys delivering out there at the site, because it's not their fault that the company will not fix a place for them to park.
That's a
And
good
they
point,
have
too.
to, that's an end user for a product. And it wouldn't be fair to the guys to come out, for the guys out there to get cited. If they're gonna do something, they can give them a warning, but I would really hate to see tickets be given out, them have to go to court or even pay a fine because they're simply trying to deliver their product.
So let me ask it this way, Sheriff, if a unit stopped out there and said, hey, why are you guys parked in the turning lane? And your officer was told, well, that's what the facility here told us to do, could that facility be cited for instructing people to park in the turning lane?
That'd be a reach. You got individual contract, basically, you're a contractor. You're receiving money from them to bring a good, and you've chose to park out there. We stopped in there and spoke with a person from us, it's just at the front gate, told them to pass the word on that vehicles are backing up. Marty had said something to one of my deputies, so we went out there and did that. That's a federal highway. You can have state police patrol it. It's in the city limits. Honestly, that's the ones that would patrol it. We don't mind doing a little extra patrol out there. Yes, you cannot park in an emergency lane if it's a non-emergency to go. You could be cited. Marty hit on that. The guy that's driving that truck's gonna be just some guy he doesn't have any way to get in, and he's sitting there waiting his turn in line. So, that is a true political thing there. When I say political, that yes, I would encourage fiscal court, city council to meet with the representatives out there. Liability, there's always liability, Sam will tell you that. I mean, if there's a bad wreck, but what we want, Simpson County, we don't want anybody to get hurt. I'm with you on that. We don't want a wreck. We're not looking for the money. But yes, if it's my wife, my daughter, my son, a friend that gets hurt in a wreck because those trucks are lined up, everybody's liable out there on that. The truck driver's gonna be the one that gets hit, but could you sue the company? You could. I don't know how far you would get with it or not, but a good attorney can argue anything, can't they, Sam?
Well, you was asking, we're talking about advertising and all the trucks sitting in the road. And I would feel bad if somebody got hurt and I wasn't at least trying to do something about it. That's the reason I'm bringing
And
this
I
up.
don't know how much luck we can have convincing them to put in a parking lot. I agree, I think they have the space to do it,
Oh, they got over 200 acres.
and
They
get
got
these
plenty
trucks
of
off
space.
the road somewhere.
I think civilly, which is the suing if there was an accident, yes, the company would have some, but I'm not in the civil. The criminal play, I don't think there's a chance in hell we could go in there and write them a ticket and it actually get prosecuted in district court because the truck driver parked out there.
It's sheriff's right, we're not gonna be able to cite them, I can tell you as a matter.
And-
I've got to prosecute in district court, I can tell you, that will go against, the company will go nowhere fast. I mean, truck drivers are the ones who are in the way, you can say all day, well, it's their fault, the company's fault, well, you're still the one parking the vehicle, and the one's gonna get cited.
Well, what may be best, rather than continuous phone calls, and I haven't talked to the mayor or the city manager yet, maybe I talk to them and let them know, here's the situation, and maybe we could send them a joint letter signed.
That's what I was gonna-
Signed by me and the mayor both, and saying, hey, we're really requesting that you do this.
That's what I was gonna suggest, at least start there, but I don't know, you may need to talk to Denny because the people out here don't make the decision.
Yeah,
You would
right.
have to send it to wherever their
Right.
headquarters is
Yep,
at, and I don't know where, and the higher ups may not know that this is an issue.
Yeah.
So, we need to find out where the higher ups are at, to send it to them and say, look, there's, and one of their trucks come out of there, they haul their feet out of there. If one of their trucks come out and run over a car because they can't see it, then they're in a severe liability there. So, I just want to try to do anything I can to make it safer for the people traveling 31W north and south out there by that place.
Yeah.
So,
Jailer, did you have some input?
I was just gonna say, when Marty's talking about that, they were backed up almost to pull out, you can't see nothing but big trucks. Somebody, I mean, I agree with Marty, somebody's gonna be killed right there, because you can't see. You can't see the traffic coming this way. You can't see it coming around that curve like you normally can, like coming from exit 2 Liquors coming off that hill. You can see, but it's getting dangerous, and it's mostly when the crops first start coming.
It's right in harvest, and it'll be next month. So I just give everybody a warning that's watching
right.
this.
That's why I don't know if we need to talk to Barry
Could
or
or
something,
maybe
with the
even
state, and
tell
get some
the
signage and say,
I was just letting everybody know that's watching this, next month, it'll be just as bad as harvest time.
And truckers don't have, I mean, they don't have a choice.
Right.
And so I just wanted to let everybody know that, but it's a serious issue, and I know it's a problem, and I don't know what we can do to fix it, but we have sent in a letter.
Yeah.
If we need a motion for you to sign a letter, I'll be glad to make it,
I-
whatever.
No, you know,
That won't need a normal.
I think, I think the
But I-
suggestion been encouraged to talk to the city folks and maybe,
I think sending a joint letter would be good, and I'll send all you guys a copy of the letter that goes to them.
It's just a major safety hazard.
Yeah, it's not good.
I wanted to bring that up, and other than that, I don't really have anything else.
Okay. Nate?
No report really, I'd just like to say a Merry Christmas to everybody and a Happy New Year, and be safe as you do tend to get out and mingle around and visit family now, just be safe.
Scott?
we'd like to thank Renaissance for the tree. We had a lighting of that here a couple of weekends ago, and then the parade that they had with Kiwanis Club put on. And thank them, and I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and hopefully 2021
Be a better
will
year.
be a little better year.
Let's hope so.
For everybody. And I want to thank the judge for the job he's done for the past 2 years. Really enjoyed working with you on a lot of this stuff. We hadn't always agreed on everything, but we worked it out, so thank you.
But we still love each other.
We do, yeah. That's all I got.
Thank you, Scott.
All I want to say is Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all.
this is everyone.
Yep. Counselor?
Get bad with her. Please pay your taxes by the end of this month, because you're still paying face value. And in December, there will be officially be late, and they'll start tacking on extra fees, expenses, and penalties. And the longer you go, the worse it gets. So please, if you can, I know money's tight, particularly this time of year. Please, if you can, if you haven't already done so, pay your property taxes at the sheriff's office by the end of this month, so you save yourself some money. And then, wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a happy, safe, and prosperous New Year.
Very good. Sheriff, you have anything?
Just acknowledge the same thing that y'all said, be responsible during the holidays, stay safe, enjoy your families, and remember what the season's for.
Jailer?
Merry Christmas,
All right. Carter, you have anything with planning and zoning? All right, I know Bill had a project going at the Justice Center. He couldn't be here, but he said all was good with maintenance. Bobby, you have anything at the road department? Is the chief out there, or Leslie, or Nelson, you're speaking on behalf of, you're good? So we're down to Bob. I brought you around here. Are you able to give us any kind of update on the coordination efforts with vaccination?
I can tell you what I know.
All right, well, let's let the public know what you know.
If you've been watching the news, you've probably seen that Kentucky took delivery of the Pfizer vaccine and started vaccinating frontline people, hospital workers. There was 11 hospitals in Kentucky that received it, and they're doing their thing, moving forward. We don't know exactly when the Moderna is going to start coming in. We're guessing probably somewhere around the Christmas week, around the 20th. And that's when we locally will start receiving the vaccine. Medical Center Franklin is the contractor that's going to be providing the vaccinations. And I texted back and forth with Annette this morning, and she's in a meeting right now talking about it, and we're working out logistics. We don't want to vaccinate everybody at one time, so that if we get some EMS folks that pop a fever or something like that, that we get all of them doing the same thing at the same time. So we're working through that. But I'm glad you asked me to come and talk about this, because there's a lot of talk about the vaccine, but the fact is it's still going to be on into 2021 before the general population is going to be able to get it.
Right, so starting next week, Christmas week, will when we see the first vaccinations in Simpson County.
That's what we're expecting. We don't have any guarantees or anything like that, but that's what we're expecting.
How is that, like first responders and then, the compromise such as our nursing?
At the same time that's going on, CVS Pharmacy, and there's another pharmacy, there's two pharmacy companies that are actually taking care of the long-term care part of this. And what their schedule is, we're not really a part of what their planning is, but it should be about the same time, parallel. The sequencing of who's going to get it and when has already been laid out. Long-term care, 65 and above in compromised places, and I'm not real sure how they're working that out, identifying who those folks are, but they're working on that plan. The first responders and hospital workers, and those are the plans that Annette and I are working on.
And so, it's just so the public knows too, you're directly working with the whole coordination efforts here in Simpson County.
Yeah, here in Simpson County, we're also in communications with everybody in the region and what their plans are. And I liken it back to the Jetsons, when you saw all the traffic flying through the air, you know. Mm-hmm. The communication and the changing is happening so fast, it's hard to keep up with it, but it's exciting to know that it's almost here. But again, the first responders and the priority list as it goes, we're going to be on into 2021 a ways before we're going to start, and there'll be some plans for that. Some people know, back I think it was in October, we did a vaccination exercise at the park with the influenza vaccine to see if we could do a vaccination plan of mass vaccination, and that what we learned out of that will probably come into play as we start getting ready to do a mass vaccination plan.
And do you think this is a fair statement? I would say to the public, if you have questions about the vaccine, don't ask me or Bob or the magistrates. Talk to your doctor.
Absolutely.
Your physician. I can't give you advice.
Your doctor knows your medical problems and your medical history better than anybody else, and they're going to be the ones that tells you whether. I've already had my conference with my doctor, and as soon as I'm able to get the shot, I'm going to get it. So, yep. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
All right. Bob, I appreciate you.
Yep. Any other questions? Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
I don't think there's anyone left to speak. All we need now is a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Nate made the motion. Scott seconded. All in favor, aye? Aye. I'm pretty sure none are opposed to that one.
Tell Bobby.
Hey, Bob.